Hi everyone, this is Reema, your biology educator from V-Learning. So as you know that V-Learning is an online educational platform where we provide quality education for all. So to get all the benefits from our channel, do subscribe to it, and also don't forget to visit to our website, that is www.v-learning.in, where you will be getting all the pre-recorded videos, the live classes, the animated videos, and also the PDF notes of all these topics. So let's begin today's session. So what you are going to learn in today's class, we are going to start with your chapter number 15, that is plant growth and development, right? So we all living organisms grow and develop, isn't it? So similarly, the plants also grow and develop. So in your chapter number 12, you have studied that the plants require various macronutrients and the micronutrients. Are these macronutrients and micronutrients enough for the growth of the plant? Right? No. This macro and micronutrients, along with that, the plants require various hormones, okay, which you call them as plant growth regulators. Okay, so in this chapter, you will be learning about the various plant growth regulators which are used by the plants for the growth and development. Okay, and also you will be learning the definition of the growth. What is exactly growth? What does growth means? Okay, what do you mean by development? So development is a whole process. Okay, so from the germination of this seed to the death of the plant, that is considered as a development of that particular plant. Okay, next you will be learning about the function of the various hormones. Okay, how these hormones are responsible for the growth of the plant. So today you will be learning about the growth and how the plant grows, that is the process by which the plant grows. Okay, and this is your lecture number 1. So let's begin today's session. So yes, growth. You all have been heard of this word, right? Growth. So what does it mean? Okay, growth is an irreversible process. Okay, once you were small, now you will be you have increased your height. Your height is increased, right? So that you call as growth, isn't it? So similarly, in case of a plant, as you can see, this plant is smaller in size, right? Slowly and slowly it is increasing its height, isn't it? It is increasing in its height. So what you call this? We call this as growth, and it is an irreversible process. Once the plant is taller, can it be shorter again? No, right? So it is an irreversible process. So what is this growth? Growth is regarded as one of the most fundamental and conspicuous characteristics of a living organisms. All living organisms, they undergo growth and development. So it is one of the fundamental characteristics. So when growth happens, what happens in case of growth? The cell divides. Okay, because of the cell division, okay, because of the cell division, the mass of the body increases. Okay, because of which the growth is taking place. Now this seed you can see here in this picture, right? This is from your book. So as you can see, this is what germination of the seed. So from the seed, how a plant is coming out, right? What it shows? It shows the growth, right? So see, this is what, this is the radicle of the, this is the radicle, right? This part you call as radicle, isn't it? So see, so in the soil, so from the radicle, the roots are coming out, right? And this is the pumil. From the pumil, what happens? You will see the cotyledons, right? From where the leaves will be coming out. So see here, the leaves are coming out, right? From the cotyledons, right? So this is what, this is the epicotyl hook, okay? And you can see this part is called as hypocotyl of the plant. So this is how the growth is happening in case of a plant from the germinating seed. Now see, growth can be defined as an irreversible permanent increase in size. So what is this growth? Growth will lead to permanent increase in size. Once the growth happened, okay, it is not, it cannot be again reversed, okay? It is irreversible. So in case of the plant also you have seen, right? So see, of an organ or any part or even of an individual cell. So you know that how the cell divides. From the 2 cell, 4 cells are being formed. Then four cell, 8 cell is being formed, isn't it? Once the cell division happened, it cannot be reversed again. Generally, growth is accompanied by the metabolic process that occur at the expense of energy. So for the growth, for the division, okay, everything requires energy. Okay, growth and development, it requires energy. So it happens with the help of metabolic process, okay, both anabolic and catabolic. Next, why plant growth is unique? So in case of animals, we also grow, right? But plant also grows. So why this plant growth is unique? Because the plant growth can continue throughout the life. They have got a tissue, that is meristematic tissue, right? Because of this meristematic tissue, the plant can grow throughout their life. Because why plants retain the capacity for unlimited growth throughout the life, the ability of the plant is due to the presence of what? Meristem. Okay, due to the presence of meristem. These are what? These are the active cells. Okay, due to the presence of meristem in certain part, so they can grow continuously. Next, the cells of such meristem have the capacity to divide and self-perpetuate. Okay, so this meristematic cells, they have the capacity to divide and self-perpetuate. So because of which the plant growth is unique. Okay, next, the growth when in new cells are always being added to the plant body by the activity of the meristem is called the open form of growth. Okay, so when the growth is taking place with the help of the activity or with the activity of meristem, it is called as the open form of growth. So as you can see here, it is the picture which is showing the root portion and the shoot, and this is the vascular cambium. Okay, so see, because of the meristematic tissue, the shoot will be coming out from this region, and because of this meristem in the root portion, okay, the roots will be coming out. So meristem are the region in the plant which is responsible for the continuous growth. Okay, so what is this meristem? Meristem are the active cells which are present in certain location of the plant. Clear? Next. Now, growth in case of plant is divided into two types, as you have studied it in your previous chapters also, that is primary growth and secondary growth. So, primary growth is taking place where it occurs due to the root apical meristem and the shoot apical meristem. So, as you know that there are three types of meristem, right? So, what are the three types of meristem? The three types of meristem are apical meristem, apical meristem, apical meristem, then lateral meristem, and intercalary meristem. Intercalary meristem. These are the three types of meristem, right? So primary growth happens because of the apical meristem, okay? And it causes the elongation of the parts along its axis. Next, secondary growth, it occurs because of what? Because of the lateral meristem. As we have studied in the plant anatomy chapter, that it leads to the formation of the cambium, right? Lateral meristem leads to the formation of the vascular cambium and the cord cambium. So here the vascular cambium and the cord cambium is formed because of the lateral meristem and increases the grit of the plant. Okay, so what it does, it is increasing the weightage of the plant. Okay, next, growth is measurable. Can you measure growth? Yes, growth is measurable. Growth at the cellular level is principally a consequence of increase in the amount of protoplasm. So when growth takes place, what happens? The amount of protoplasm, it increases. Okay, since increase in protoplasm is difficult to measure directly, one generally measures some quantity which is more or less proportional to it. So the quantity of a particular protoplasm can be measured. Okay, next, what are the following parameters of growth? How you can identify that growth is happened in that plant? Okay, so increase in the fresh weight, dry weight, length, area, and the volume of cell number. So these are the parameters because of which you can measure the growth in the plant. So see, what do you mean by this cell number? Cell number means the number of cells present in an organism. Okay, so the maize root apical meristem can give rise to more than 17,500 new cells per hour. Okay, so the number of the cells in different plants, it will vary. Okay, so in case of the maize, its meristematic tissue can give rise to 17,500 new cells per hour. Okay, now cells in watermelon may increase in size by up to 350,000 times. In the former, growth is expressed as increase in cell number. So here the growth occurred in case of increase in cell number. Yeah, the cell number increased. Okay. Now length. Okay, depending on the length also, the growth of a pollen tube is measured in terms of its length. So the pollen tube, how you can measure the growth can be measured in terms of the length. And the surface area, in case of the leaf, you can measure the growth measuring the surface area. Okay. So in case of dorsiventral leaf. Now, what are the various phases of the growth? These are the three various phases of the growth, that is meristematic, elongation and maturation. Okay. Now, meristematic means where the cells are active. Okay, they start dividing. Okay, now elongation means what? Elongation means they are increasing in size. Okay, the cell number is increasing. Okay, now maturation means what? That the cell has reached to a particular uh, time, that is the cell has reached to a particular stage. Okay, sorry, stage. So that is maturation. Now what is this meristematic? It occurs in the cells farther away from the apex. Now farther away from the apex means what? More proximal to the phase of elongation. Next, the cells attain maximal size in terms of cell wall thickening and protoplastic modification. So where the maximum meristematic activity is taking place in the thickening of the cells and the cell wall and the protoplastic modification. Now, what is this elongation? It occurs in the cells proximal to the meristematic zone, and it leads to the increase in the cell enlargement and new cell wall deposition. So because of this elongation, what happens? New cell wall gets deposited. Okay. So where it occurs? It occurs in the meristematic zone. Okay. Next, maturation. So it occurs in the cells farther away from the apex, that is more proximal to the phase of elongation. So after the elongation, the maturation phase happens, and which is lying proportion to the axis undergoing the phase of maturation. Now, the cells of this zone attain their maximal size in the terms of wall thickening and the protoplastic modification. So what happens in the maturation? The cell walls, it becomes thick and the protoplast, it gets modified. So it is happening in case of maturation. Now let us see what is this growth rate. Okay, the increased growth per unit is termed as growth rate. So what is the how much the growth has been increased? Okay, that we termed as growth rate. So the rate of growth can be expressed mathematically. So the growth rate in case of plants, we can express it mathematically. Okay, an organism or a part of the organism can produce more cells in a variety of ways. So what is this growth rate? It is nothing but the increased growth per unit time. Okay, next, it can be measured using this arithmetic growth and the geometric growth. Okay, so in case of plants, the growth rate can be measured using this arithmetic and the geometric growth. Now, in case of plants, what happens in case of plant? Mitotic cell division takes place. Okay, in case of plants, the mitotic cell division takes place. So what happens in case of arithmetic? From the two cell, they are forming four cell here, right? So again, from the four cell, they will form eight cell, isn't it? So cell division is nothing but the increase in the number of the cells. Okay, increase in the number of the cells. So see, what happens? It follows mitotic cell division. Okay, where only one daughter cell continues to divide while the other differentiates and matures. So here what happens? Only one daughter cell will divide, and the curve which is obtained in case of arithmetic growth, it is what? It is a linear curve. As you can see, the curve which is being obtained in case of arithmetic growth, it is a linear curve. Okay, Now next let us see what is this geometric growth. So in most system the initial growth is slow. So in case of the geometric growth, the initial growth will be slow. So the curve, it will be like this. So initial growth will be slow. Slowly the growth will take place and it will reach to stationary where the growth will stop. Okay, so here you will get the A S shaped curve. Okay, here you will get what? S shaped curve. So see, it follows the various phases, okay, lag phase, log phase, and the stationary phase. So here the growth you call it as lag phase, okay. The growth where it is slow, okay, it is called as lag phase. Now here the growth is faster, so it is called as exponential phase. It is called as exponential phase, and this is called as stationary phase where no more growth is taking place, right? So this is what is happening in case of geometric growth. So here both the progeny cells follow mitotic cell division and retain the ability to divide and continue to do so. Next, however, with the limited nutrients, so when the nutrient supply is less, what happens? The growth will slow down, okay? And they will lead to a stationary phase where no more growth will take place. So growth depends on the nutrition, right? Whenever an organism is getting more nutrition, the growth will be faster here in the exponential phase, and whenever there is limited nutrition, they will reach to a particular saturation period that is called as the stationary phase. Okay, now we plot the parameter and we'll get the S shaped or S curve, right? So here in case of geometric growth, the curve which is obtained is S shaped. Okay, next, what do you mean by this growth rate? Growth rate is the measure of the ability of the plant to produce what? New plant material, referred to as efficiency index. So it is nothing but it is the ability of the plant to produce new plant, okay, that is called as growth rate. So the final size of W1 depends on the initial size of the W0. So next, the quantitative comparison between the growth of living system can also be made into two ways, okay. So we can compare the growth by this absolute growth rate and the relative growth rate. So what is this absolute growth rate? It is the measurement and the comparison of the total growth per unit time, okay. So the total growth per unit time is called as the absolute growth rate, okay. And the relative growth is the growth of the given system per unit time expressed on a common basis, example per unit initial parameters, okay. So depending on this absolute growth rate and the relative growth rate, we can measure the growth rate of an organism. So as you can see, the surface of the surface area of the leaf, okay, so it is being measured and we can calculate the growth rate of that leaf, right? Yes. Next, what are the conditions? As you know that the various conditions necessary for the growth. So it's common and it's very easy, right? Water, then essential elements, temperature, light, oxygen, and plant growth regulators or plant growth hormones. So these are the various conditions which are required for the growth of a plant, right? Next, differentiation. So here you will be learning three things. One is differentiation, one is dedifferentiation, and another one is redifferentiation. Okay, differentiation is nothing but what? It is the capacity of a cell to divide. Okay, capacity of a cell to divide. So the cells derived from the root apical and the shoot apical meristems and cambium differentiate and mature into specific functions, which leads to the maturation, and that is known as the differentiation. So when the cells which are derived from the shoot and the root apical meristem, they divide and they reach to a particular maturation stage, that is called as differentiation. Okay. Now, during differentiation, the cells undergo few to major structural changes both in the cell wall and protoplasm. So, when differentiation happens, what happens? The cell will increase in size, right? So, when the cell will increase in size, that means the protoplast of the cell is also increasing. The cell wall also will become thicker in size, okay? So it is happening because of differentiation. Now, what is this dedifferentiation? Now, dedifferentiation means there are some plant cells, they have lost their capacity to divide. So they again starts dividing. Okay, that is dedifferentiation. So the living differentiated cells which have lost their capacity to divide regain the capacity of division under certain condition, that is called as dedifferentiation. It is very, very easy. Differentiation means what? Differentiation means the process by which the cells divide and reach to a stage, that is the maturation. Okay. Now, dedifferentiation means what? There are some living cells, they have lost their capacity to divide. Okay, so they again regain the capacity to divide, that is dedifferentiation. Now another one is there, that is redifferentiation. Now what does this means? Redifferentiation means there are some of the meristematic tissues. Okay, some of the meristematic tissues which are able to divide and produce cells that once lost the capacity to divide and mature to perform specific functions. So this is related to the meristematic tissue. Okay, so here the meristematic tissue which have once lost their capacity to divide. Okay, so here the meristematic tissue which has lost their capacity to divide, they can again divide. Okay, they can again divide and mature. That is called as redifferentiation, right? Yes, now let us come to the development. Now, what do you mean by this development? Development is a whole process. Okay, so it is the term which includes all the changes which goes through during its life cycle from germination to from germination of the seeds to the senescence. Okay, now see, so this is a small seed. This is a small seed. Now, from this seed, what happens? The plant will come out, isn't it? Now, the plant will slowly grow in size. It will become bigger in size, right? Now, next, what happens? It will be a huge tree, isn't it? Slowly, slowly, what happens? The leaves will start falling from the plant, right? And the plant will start dying, right? And the plant will start dying. So, this whole process from the germination of the seed to the senescence. Okay, senescence means death of the plant. So this whole process is called as development, right? Yes, meristematic cells. So see here, the meristematic cells means the active cells, okay, which are dividing and lead to the germination of what? Germination of the plant seed, germination of the plant seed. So slowly, what happens? Differentiation is taking place in the plant. So it will lead to the maturation. So mature cells, they will grow and they will again, that is senescence will take place, and finally death takes place in those plants. Okay, so that whole process is called as development in plant. Next, what do you mean by this plasticity? Okay, now there are different plants, and in case of different plants, you will see different leaves, right? The structure of the leaves will be different in case of different plants, right? Now, it depends on the availability of the sunlight, or also it depends on the habitat of the plant where it is growing. So, the plants follow different pathways in response to environment of phases of life to form different kinds of structures, that is called plasticity. Now, as I said that there are some plants which will be growing in the water, some will be in the land, like terrestrial, right? So it depends on the environmental factors like light, sunlight, water, right? All this, it affects the growth of the plants. So in that all factors, that is how the plants are differing from one another, that is called as plasticity. Okay, because of which they have got a different kind of structure, right? Example, heterophily. So here let us understand one of the example, that is heterophily in cotton, coriander and larkspur. Okay, so in such plants, the leaves of the juvenile plant are different from the mature plant. So you will see that the leaves of the juvenile plant will be different in shape from the mature plants. When they were juvenile, the shape will be different. When they will be mature, the shape will be different. So on the other hand, the difference in the shape of the leaves, okay, and leaves produced, right, and also in the air, those produced in the water in buttercup also represents the heterophilous development due to environment. So this phenomenon of heterophyly is called as plasticity. So it is nothing but, as you can see here, this is a juvenile leaf, right? So when it grows into an adult leaf, the shape of it is different, isn't it? So that phenomenon is known as plasticity. It depends upon the environmental factors. Now, in case of another plant, that is buttercup, which grows in the water, okay? So in case of that also, plasticity has been observed. So this is one of the easiest chapter, okay? So today we have covered what? Today we have covered the process by which the plant grows, right? You have understood about the meaning of growth and what are the various factors responsible for growth, right? And at last we have learned about the development in the plant. So I hope you have understood whatever is discussed in today's session. So if you like this video, do like it and also share it with your friends. So in my next class, I'll be teaching you guys the plant growth hormone, where you'll be learning the various functions of the plant growth hormones like auxin, cytokinin, okay, gibberellin. So till then, take care and bye bye.